Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're up dead early and it is another marvelous Monday. I'm so happy that you can join us. My name is Mark Daniels and I will be flying solo this morning. I'm glad that you're up. As you can see, it is quite a cool morning. You can feel that wind coming in out of the north, coming in through your windows, making it a little harder to get out of the house this morning, but glad that you're up. You've got your tea going, your coffee going, children are getting ready for school, breakfast on the stove. You might be returning back from your morning walk or jog, but we're so happy that you're here with us. It's Monday, and so I want to try something new. What's up good news? Let's try to focus on some of the good things that are happening around in your life and in the country. So what's up good news for me? Had a great weekend with the family, spent some time with my children, took my son to a baseball game. Spend some time cleaning up the house because, you know, your surroundings are a reflection of your mind. You know, cleanliness is next to godliness. So that 10 minutes that you take to clean up that spare room, to, you know, wash the clothes, wash the dishes, it's in the everyday mundane activities that you find a little bit of solace and peace, and it just focuses in on what's important. What else is good news? I saw a great thing on social media this weekend. Friday, there was a basketball tournament held between the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the members of the Camp Road community. From what I've seen from that, it was a resounding success, and I just want to congratulate both the Royal Bahamas Police Force and those community leaders in the Camp Road community. It's initiatives like that that help to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the citizens who have to work together to tackle this crime problem in the country. We've talked about the multiple ways you can do it, providing a structure for children. We talked about Junior Junkanoo, various sports, but this was a perfect example of when the community and the police come together, good things to happen. It was nothing but smiles, and they had an MVP that was trophy that was given out. Just again, claps to everybody. Let's see more of that. Let's work together to build our Bahamas up to make it what we want it to be. We've got a great show for you today, and we're so happy that you're with us. Dr. Pinto is here, and he will tell us more about chronic urinary tract infections in our urology care segment. We'll also hear what the panel had to say about catalysts for advocating business at the Bahamas Business Outlook last week. And we'll also take another look at the segment with Biker, discussing the new rules for business license renewal. And the organizers of Love, Lies, and Liberation is here to talk all about that powerful conference that's going on this year. All that and more. But let's find out what's happening with the weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by NUA, the hands-on agency.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, Bahamas and Yakutas. Look at weather at Sunrise. We do have a cold front that's now in the central Bahamas, moving quickly into the southeastern islands by this evening, and that's going to bring in some cooler temperatures and also breezing conditions for a short while over the islands as high pressure building behind that cool front across the northwest and central Bahamas. Today, a mix of sun and clouds, breezy and mild, with a few showers along the frontal boundary in the central Bahamas. Your high temperature reaching 76 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, partly cloudy, breezy and chilly. Your low going down to 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And some regional highs and lows across the Caribbean. Barbados 86 and 78. In Jamaica, 88 and 75. In Trinidad, 1974, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, 82 and 70. Across North America, Atlanta, 53 and 32. In Boston, 27 and 17. In Miami, 69 and 54. Dallas, Texas, 66 and 40. And Toronto, Canada, 29 and 25. As usual, the week, high pressure builds, but we have a second front that should move sometime late Wednesday and Thursday to reinforce the cool temperatures across the islands through the weekend. And so for the most part, we're looking at partly sunny, mild day, cool at nighttime. Though temperature will be in the low to mid 70s daytime, at nighttime upper 50s to lower 60s. That much from me. First look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Godfrey. Persistent chronic cases of urinary tract infections, or UTIs, are a frustrating challenge for both patients and health providers alike. Here to talk with us about this is Dr. Gregory Pinto. He is a urologist with Urology Care Bahamas and our good friend here on Bahamas at Sunrise. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning to the Bahamas and good morning to my daughter Gia.
Yes, good morning, and we're here talking about UTIs. Let's just jump right in. What is a UTI and what are some of the chief characteristics of this disease?
So unfortunately, particularly women are prone to urinary tract infections because anatomically they're predisposed. They have a very short urethra. So the pathway from outside in is very short. For men, it's a longer way to go. So men are less inclined anatomically to get a urinary tract infections. But unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions related to urinary tract infections. There's a lot of self-diagnosis, there's a lot of self-treatment, and that can be very, very dangerous. First of all, when you have a urinary tract infection, we need to ascertain what is the root cause of that urinary tract infection. Just giving somebody antibiotics blindly is not the answer. We need to treat the root cause. Is it because you're not emptying your bladder? What is the precipitating event? Is it because you're immunocompromised? And that can be something as such as uncontrolled diabetes or undiagnosed diabetes. It can be as men get older, they're going to have an enlargement of the prostate. 50% of 50-year-olds, 60% of 60-year-olds, 70% of 70-year-olds, and almost everyone older than that are going to have a benign prostate hyperplasia where you're basically not emptying your bladder. You're peeing more frequently, more urgently. And if you're holding a pool of urine day in and day out and when you're not emptying completely, that's just going to lead to proliferation of bacteria and you get urinary tract infections.
So how do you know when it's a problem, when it's a time to come and see you or a urologist generally?
So once off, it happens. It's more concerning for men because usually, as I said, they're not likely to have urinary tract infections. But if you're getting one every month, if you're getting it every 3 months, if it can be debilitating in terms of destroying your relationships because every time you have sexual activity, you're getting a urinary tract infection. So there's a big misconception that urinary tract infection is a sexually transmitted disease. It's not. If you have a UTI, you cannot give it to your partner. It's just that women in particular, as I mentioned, have a very small urethra, and during sexual activity, they're prone to have that bacteria spread from outside in the urethra. And anytime you get a urinary tract infection, it can spread anywhere along the urinary tract. So that means it can spread to your kidneys, it can spread to your bladder, your urethra. For men, it can even manifest with pain in their testicles and their scrotum as well. So
I didn't realize that.
Yes, it can.
So how do you diagnose it? How do I say this is actually a UTI versus some other condition?
So again, there's a lot of misconceptions, even among physicians. You can get a urine microscopy, but studies have shown that's very unreliable. So that's just a little dipstick they'll ask you to pee into a container that you cannot rely on. The gold standard is get a urine culture, and that takes 3 to 5 days. Basically, you see if bacteria grows on a culture medium in the lab, and that determines which bacteria is present in your urine and which antibiotics are either sensitive to it or are going to be resistant to it. So we can fine-tune which antibiotics are going to get rid of that infection. So a lot of times if you get recurrent urinary tract infections, as I said, you got to treat the root cause. But if you're getting them, and what we can do is we can prophylactically give you antibiotics for a period of time to prevent it from happening again. The other thing that there's a lot of confusion is that the symptoms of urinary tract infections, urgency, frequency, bladder pain, burning when you urinate, that can be confused with a lot of other conditions, such as overactive bladder. So just as I said, you cannot treat yourself because overactive bladder, antibiotics are not going to do anything for it. And the cause of overactive bladder might be because you're not emptying your bladder, or maybe because the brain is getting false signals from the bladder that your bladder is full when it's not.
Is there anything we can do lifestyle-wise that would help to lessen the chance of developing UTIs?
Well, hygiene is
Developing UTIs?
Well, hygiene is important, and before having sexual activity, doing the same afterwards as well. You also have to be mindful of getting your annual physicals. You want to make sure that there's anything such as a overactive bladder related to incomplete bladder emptying or diabetes or a neurogenic bladder or any other numerous causes. It can be increased risk with stroke, with multiple sclerosis, with Parkinson's disease. But just treating yourself is the wrong path you want to go down that road. And obviously, for men and women in relationships, if it's recurrent urinary tract infections after sexual activity, don't let it ruin that aspect of your life. seek consult. And it can happen in all ranges. You can have recurrent urinary tract infections because of congenital abnormalities related to infants, newborns, going all the way up. As you enter menopause as a woman, you're at increased risk. Men and women as they get older are at increased risk.
Right. Because you had some stats earlier. You said 40% of 40-year-olds, 50% of 50-year-olds. So anybody can get a UTI. It's not just...
It can, but women are more prone to get them.
Right.
If in a lifetime, a woman is almost certainly going to get at least one.
Right.
But if it keeps happening, and particularly if there's certain activities that lead to it, if you have overactive bladder and you think that you have a urinary tract infection, the first thing they're going to do is drink more and more liquids.
I was going to
more
ask,
and more water.
Drink some cranberry juice, drink...
So if you have an overactive bladder, you're confusing it with a urinary tract infection, and all you're going to do is drink 20 more gallons of water a day. Yeah. All you're going to do is ruin your life, because you're going to know where every bathroom is in every aspect of your life, and you plan your life based on where's the next bathroom, and that's not solving the problem. Overactive bladder, we can give you medications effectively to treat that. We can put Botox into your bladder, which will give you relief without any medication, very effectively for at least 9 months at a time. We can do stimulation of the nerves through something called InterStim, or we can actually put what we call acupuncture needles with stimulation in the tibial nerve, which is a nerve at the back of the ankle, once a week for 8 to 10 weeks. That will solve the problem without even medication.
Back of the ankle?
Yes.
Wow.
So that nerve is connected to the bladder.
So if I can reach down there and just squeeze the back of my ankle?
No, it's not that. But if you can provide electrical stimulation and to the tibial nerve, it's related to the bladder that'll basically treat overactive bladder. So you don't have to have that urge to pee every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes.
Well, that definitely sounds hopeful. Yeah. It sounds like it's a condition that, some people will get in their lifetime. More likely women have a higher chance of getting it.
Correct.
But in terms of treatment, let's go from simple to complex. So you mentioned some of it. So what's the easiest form of treatment to the most complex?
Well, we got to diagnose it. As I said, there's I'll even go further with complicating the issue, a condition called painful bladder syndrome. It's called interstitial cystitis. Mimics all the symptoms of a bladder infection, where you can have pain, you can have urgency, you can have pain down there, whether you're a man or a woman. It has absolutely nothing to do with an infection. And again, some people suffer from 8, 10, 12 years before they're accurately diagnosed, and all they're doing is taking antibiotics unnecessarily, trying to treat a condition that they don't have. So we need to determine first, just simply in the office, are you emptying your bladder?
Right.
Do you have any predisposing issue that will affect your immune system, such as, particularly in this country, where there's a lot of non-communicable diseases, diabetes being number one. Let's rule out the fact that you may have diabetes. You might be pre-diabetic. Let's look at your fluid intake. Are you overdoing it in terms of liquids? Let's look at we always talk about, tell young girls in terms of wiping. You don't want to wipe from back to front. You want to wipe from front to back.
Right.
The use of tampons and etc. Some people have allergies to certain condoms. So we have to basically be an investigator and determine what is the root cause, what is the precipitating effect, and then we treat that. So everybody is an individual. You need to treat everybody based on what's going on in their life. You can't just broad stroke and say, all right, this is how you treat everybody who has these symptoms, because the symptoms can be mimicked by many different conditions, and a lot of even physicians confuse it.
You sound more like a detective than a physician,
that's
right?
what you have to be in the medical field. You have to treat the root cause, ascertain the root cause, and then you want to be preventive to make sure it doesn't happen again.
So if someone has questions and they want to see you and find you and just find out whether or not they have an issue or what they can do to prevent something from maybe progressing and becoming worse, how can they find you?
I have a website, urologycarebahamas.com. My main office is at Oak Tree Medical Center, which is 5th Terrace in Mount Royal. The number there is 322-1145.
Awesome. Well, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. I always learn so much when you come on. And now I know that I could just squeeze the back of my ankle and everything will be all right.
Not so straightforward, but yes.
Yes. Well, thanks again for coming on the show this
my
morning.
Pleasure, my pleasure.
Take care. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise, and we'll be right back.
Hey Mom, can you look after Kaylee?
Sorry, I'll be out for a while dealing with my home and car insurance.
What? You know there's a newer way, right?
A new way.
Where have you been? Look, go to newerinsurance.com, log in, get your quote, buy your insurance, done. You can even use it to manage a plane.
Oh? By the way, it's not NUA. It's NUA. Where's she been?
Do it anyway with NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers.
We're good for you. We know how important collecting your money can be to the success of your business. Start your relationship with Fidelity today so that we can show you the many options available to you with our merchant services. From click and pay options online to merchant terminals and e-commerce options. We're here to help your business succeed. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit any of our branches.
Meet Leno, your bridge to the future. Wealth planning, investments, corporate services, trust services, pension administration, fund administration, outsourced accounting, and payroll. When you think of financial solutions, think of Leno. Local or international, company or individual, Leno can help. Our team of skilled professionals has the experience and expertise needed for you to strive. Your goals are our goals and our priority. Leno will guide you to the right financial solution with the knowledge, resources, and support you need. Give us a call at 242-396-3225 or email us at info@lenobahamas.com to get started. Visit our website, www.lenobahamas.com, for more information today. Leno, your bridge to the future.
Welcome back. Every year, the Bahamas Business Outlook provides a forum for balanced information, professional opinions, and expert advice. This year's theme was Future Bahamas, Branding the National Identity and Planning for Success. Here is a portion of what the business panel discussed.
Gowan Bowe and Timothy Ingram joined Crystal Sands Feast at Bahamas Business Outlook last week to discuss the topic Catalyst for Advancing Bahamian Business. One challenge noted was lack of collaboration between the government and the business community.
It is critically important that the business community is involved in what's going to happen in this country, the planning in this country. I've seen too many times when we get called in to collaborate, only to be told what's going to happen. We get feedback, it's ignored, and the powers that be move forward with their plan despite what you're saying. Most business people in this country have invested millions of dollars in this country in their business. It is in their best interest to see that investment grow, to get a return on it. That's why they invested. And so they can tell you what's best for their business, the best ways to move this country forward for their business. There's no sense me planning what we're going to do for tourism if I'm not speaking with the stakeholders in tourism, right? There's no sense in me planning what's going to happen with employment in this country if I'm not speaking to small and medium enterprises who actually drive employment in this country. So a lot of times we see policies which seem to be regressive for business, which almost seem designed to hold the business back. There seems to be a kind of a feeling that businesses have an unlimited supply of money. Just go outside to the money tree in the back and get it to pay for whatever needs to be paid. And so it is critically important that we sit down and have open dialogue with the business community when these decisions are being made. I go back to when we were trying to emerge from COVID and we formed the Economic Recovery Committee. And business, the chamber, other businesses were involved in that process, where the government said to us, well, what is the best way to deal with this? Hairdressers wanted to open their businesses. They came to the chamber, can you talk to the hairdressers, find out what needs to be done. The hairdressers were in a better position to say what is best for them to operate their business in that environment. And so to leave the business community out of these discussions or to ignore the advice I think we're going to go nowhere because you come up with policies which are bad for business, which suppress business, and which don't encourage growth.
And just before we move on from that, I think sometimes we have to put it into very simple context for people to understand. Is it that we want government to be the largest employer, or we want the private sector to be? And we know the answer as it relates to where it exists today. And we know that we would probably argue that even the size of government we would want to see reduced with greater efficiency, greater delivery of products and services. So if I'm saying that the actual gross domestic product or the output of the country is driven by an actual community of individuals who've placed money into the economy, and I say that I want to move forward, the reality is, well, those are the individuals that I don't need to placate, but I do need to collaborate on. And I use a couple of examples that show how we become either stagnant or regressive. When we had the talk about VAT, it was, this is what's going to happen. And then there was massive resistance, both from business and individuals. It moved to the Chamber of Commerce and its coalition at the time saying, can we study this and get information so at least we are making informed decisions? And I make no reservation about saying even the businesses were overreacting in the opposite direction. Government was going left, businesses going right, and there was a right answer in the middle. It was studied. It was then educated throughout the society. It was then actually embraced. And now it is almost commonplace, and persons don't think about it, except they still asking where the VAT money gone. So when we come back to that and we then say, okay, that worked. Let's look at some other elements that ask ourselves the question. I won't answer it, and it'll be somewhat rhetorical. Did it work? We said we're going to impose price control without discussion. Then, well, we may not do it. We may not do it on all. We're going to impose these fees, but then we get pushback saying these fees don't work in various areas. So, okay, we reverse that. Well, maybe we don't, and partially. The reality is every time we make a decision that is not collaborative and we reverse or revisit, we lose credibility as an administration. And to the outside world, the question is, do you know what you're doing? And, you know, if we are seen as either incompetent or arrogant, I don't know which one is worse, but I know that ultimately, and sometimes I tease, because persons say, well, when you meet with international persons, you know, you're positive about the Bahamas. I said, yes, I'm always positive because this is where my navel string is buried. But it is important for me to speak with them for one simple reason. All of us ain't that dumb. And some may see that as an arrogant statement, but I say that to say that the decisions and the actions we take, observed without context, beg the question sometimes, do we know what we're doing?
Another issue affecting business growth is a fluctuating and confusing taxation system.
So I want the policymakers to hear what we're saying. We want to comply. Businesses want to pay their tax as long as the requirements are clear for what businesses have to do. I want to add to that corporate tax. What does the potential introduction of yet another tax, what do you think that means for the business community, and how important is consultation, stakeholder buy-in important to the successful rollout of another tax that may be imposed on Bahamian business?
You know, I start by first saying I think we have to educate government that it's not a provider, it's a facilitator. And if it understands that the way businesses are successful, they see themselves as facilitators to their customers. And I only segue quickly into that by saying, when you think about what it was to check into a hotel 30 years ago and what it is today, now you have it on your phone, you scan your phone against the door, you walk in, because they don't want you standing in line. They want you enjoying the amenities, spending money in the restaurants, and all of the elements that are there. So if government switches its mindset to understand that it's a facilitator, then it is saying, how do I get out of the way of the things that stop the productivity? So how do I make it a bit easier for them to do these things? And it's not about removing regulation. It's not about removing accountability. It is saying that it is not about me making it difficult. And sometimes I believe there are persons who saying, they think they business, they can learn today. And because you almost look at it and see that, like that mindset, like they look at you drinking tea and say, you can sit there and wait, right? But, you know, it's just saying that we get to that. When we move into taxation, and I think this actually brings it up very neatly, it has to be formulated as a facilitator, meaning as government, my role is to take an appropriate amount of money from the pockets of my citizens and businesses in order to redistribute it in an equitable manner to provide government services and goods. And so when I do so, it is not about how much of a gotcha moment I have, like, aha, I got you now. It's more a case of saying, well, what helps me to be most equitable and most efficient? I start by saying that just the way you paraphrased it or characterized it, the way it has been left is corporate income tax is another tax.
Yeah.
And what does another mean? One in addition to others. Versus we have tax reform, and we are now consolidating inefficient and ineffective taxes into a new tax that will replace, repeal, disband, get rid of, you know, whatever words we need so that people clearly understand these ineffective ones. I think corporate income tax for the country, you know, bearing in mind I have on my bulletproof vest, is positive. I think that our tax system, I even think personal income tax is. I think where we have a challenge is if we ask three questions that we over and repeatedly ask. Is our tax system broken? And the answer is, does it allow us to compete internationally? We stay blacklisted. Does it allow us to pay our bills? We continually run deficits. Is it equitable? Well, the wealthier amongst us pay less relative to what we earn than those who are less fortunate among us. So obviously it's not correct. But every time we introduce tax, it cannot be just a new tax or another tax. It has to be reform the broken thing and bring in something that says, if I only have to pay one, so I stop paying complex duties, which sometimes it apply and sometimes it don't. Just when I buy wine, 1 minute it do, next minute it don't. I didn't even understand that. We have other elements of business license where it's on my revenue, but I could be making a loss. So actually, the government taxes me into a loss. Nowhere else you see that sense of inequity take place. And I remember one of our most prominent business owners said, Gowan, the day I pay the government more in taxes than I earn in profit, I've given them the keys because it means I'm working for them. So we have to get to a mindset of saying, yes, taxation, the Bible started, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, but only what is Caesar's. So don't take what ain't Caesar's, right? So allow me not to add another, but allow me to get to one that makes greater sense.
And just one very quick thing with that. I agree with what Gowan says, but there also has to be more transparency with government finances. People don't mind paying taxes once they see they're getting value for money. And I think right now there is a sense that we're not getting value for money. We could be getting it, but we're not getting the information to tell us. So we need to see that as well.
For Bahamas at Sunrise, this is Suzette Parker.
Don't spend hours sending individual messages to your customers. Use SMS messaging instead. With Alive Business SMS messaging, you can send personalized messages to hundreds or even thousands of recipients instantly. It's quick, effortless, and cost-effective. Plus, it ensures that your messages are delivered directly to your customers' cellular phones, guaranteeing higher engagement. Save time and boost your outreach with SMS bulk messaging. Call Alive Business at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Islands.
Here are three young people who stopped attending high school and got disengaged in their educational journey due to the pandemic. Today, they are proudly taking their walk all over the place because they took advantage of BTVI's Smart Start initiative. All high school students in New Providence and the Family Islands can participate in free hands-on learning to improve employability. Learn basic literacy and numeracy skills and earn a BTVI certificate in automotive mechanics, beauty and construction trades, or fashion in only 14 weeks for full-time participants or 24 weeks for part-time. Don't count yourself out. Do what they did and enroll today. Email smartstart@btvi.edu.bs or call 502-6300 so you can take your walk anywhere in life.
African Things is your one-stop shop for everything African. Make a bold fashion statement with vibrant colors and intricate patterns inspired by the beauty of Africa. Find trendy contemporary looks for every occasion and enjoy custom tailoring. Shop jewelry, purses, art, cosmetics, and much more. African Things is located in the Dugard Plaza, Palmdale, next to McDonald's. Open Tuesday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come get your African Things.
One thing, two things, blue thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right into the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
And welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're up dead early on another marvelous Monday, and you've made it to the mid-show. We're so happy you stuck with us. My name is Mark Daniels, and I am flying solo today, but so happy that you're up joining us this morning on this windy morning. That cool breeze coming out of the north. Godfrey, I don't know. I thank you for sending this cold breeze because the heat started to creep back in at the end of the week last week. I saw ACs was turning on. I see people were sweating. It's like winter cannot be over. It's not over, folks. We got another week of breeze. Careful if you're in the water. Careful if you're on the boats. Remember, safety first, always. Enjoyed that first half of the show. I did as well. Looking back at the Bahamas Business Outlook and some of the highlights from the business panel, and also speaking with Dr. Gregory Pinto. He always has so much to share with us. We always learn so much. Once again, we're focusing on the good things that are happening in the country, the good things that are happening in your life, and the good things happening around you. So if you hit that little milestone over the weekend, you've been saying you're going to work out this year, and let's say you got 5 minutes in on Saturday, congratulations to you. If you got past it, you were almost at the end of January. What is it? It's like January 57th today. We're almost there, everybody. We're almost done with January. Just hold on a bit longer. We've got great stuff coming up in our second half. We're going to take another look at our recent segment with BICA discussing the new rules for business license renewals. And the organizers of Love, Lies, and Liberation are here to talk about this masterclass on Black love and Black relationships. All this and more, but we'll be back after these few messages from Godfrey Burnside. What's happening with the weather?
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by NUA, the hands-on agency.
Mark, and good morning, Bahamas. Just a second look at the weather at sunrise, and yes, Mark, a dead cool week in the store weather-wise. We do have a cold front now over the central Bahamas, moving southeastwards, high pressure building across the islands, and that'll bring some breezy conditions over the next 24 to 36 hours. A second front will move sometime on Wednesday, late Wednesday and Thursday. That'll reinforce the cool air. In the marine forecast, we do have a caution posted over the islands. Today, those winds northwesterly at 15-20 knots, seas 4-6 wind northwest and central Bahamas. Those winds gusting to 25 knots at times. West to northwest at 15 knots, 3 to 5 feet. Our southeastern islands, but it will be increasing 15-20 knots by late this afternoon. On Tuesday, those winds become northerly at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 to all the islands. Wednesday, northwesterly at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet, or the northwest Bahamas, light and variable at seas 1 to 3 feet, or the central and southeastern islands. Your tides. You can expect a high tide at 9:58 this morning. Next low tide will be at 4:21 this afternoon. High gain tonight at 10:22. Sunset 5:50 this evening. Rising one 6:53. UV index 7. Your water temperature 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And your moon phase, full moon. Your extended outlook at cold front, now in the central Bahamas. That high pressure building the islands, second cold front most on Thursday, and that will make it and reinforce the cold air. So through the week, we're looking at partly sunny, mild at daytime, cool at nighttime. The temperature will be in the low to mid 70s daytime, at nighttime upper 50s to lower 60s. That puts around the fun look at weather sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. We'll be back after a short commercial break.
My name is Gwaine Ward, and I am the Senior Manager in the Enforcement Department at the Securities Commission of the Bahamas. The Securities Commission protects investors from frauds and scams that are now called financial schemes. If a person has been charged with promoting a scam, they may be criminally prosecuted. We educate and protect investors so that we can build a country that can weather financial storms.
Of winemakers. It's far from it. I was raised in a small working class town in upstate New York. There was this one nice restaurant, and I used to peek in the windows at night, and I'd see people eating by candlelight. And I thought, wow, how do I become part of that world? I approached the owner and I said, I've worked at all these fancy restaurants before. He knew I was fibbing, but he hands me a book on wine, and he says, you read this, and I'll try you out as a wine steward. That book took me to places like Bordeaux and Napa Valley. That's what started my love affair with wine. And I went on to work for wineries all over the world. I followed a dream, and I started Josh Cellars, which I named after my dad. And that's how a restaurant owner opened up the world of wine to a hardscrabble kid from upstate New York.
The Euro device is very affordable. It allows you to increase your internet connectivity. You are able to do away with the buffering, say goodbye to the dead spots. It gives them a much more stable connection. Their customers are able to view their digital menus. The establishment is able to stream. It allows for everyone, the customers and the business operators, to have a much more robust and stable internet connectivity.
Introducing the Focal Smart Pass app that helps you to fuel up faster. Here's how it works. Download the app on the App Store or get it on Google Play and create your profile with payment details. Visit your nearest Shell station, open the app, scan the pump's QR code, select your payment amount, and begin fueling. Say goodbye to cash and cards because the Focal Smart Pass offers secure and convenient payment options right at your fingertips. Download Focal Smart Pass now and fuel up faster today.
Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Thanks for sticking with us. The foremost masterclass in Black love and relationships is back. Love, Lies, and Liberation, put on by the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah, is back, ready to give you all of the juicy details and ins and outs on how we can solve Black love, Black relationships, and keep it going and perpetuating on into eternity. With us today, we have with us two very special royal regal ladies in the house. We have with us Sister Shandell Williams and also Dr. Nicole Ford. Shan Williams, she is a part of the Bahamas Kanisa, and Dr. Nicole Ford, she is a part of the South Carolina Kanisa with the Holy Coptic Church. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning, Bahamas.
Yes, yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. It is so great to have you, and namaste to you both. Love, lies, and liberation. We've been familiar with this on the show the past few years. We've had the Kanisa on multiple times, giving us all the good stories and the good information coming out of this conference. But tell us, primarily, what is the goal of Love, Lies, and Liberation?
The great thing about Love, Lies, Liberation, it is a platform for authentic conversation about Black love, Black family, Black womanhood and manhood, how to create that intimacy and the love we want going forward from our perspective.
So why do we have to specify Black love and Black relationships? Is there something particularly different or special? Why do we address it head on and directly?
Oh, I don't know about you all, but between the Cosmopolitans and the Vogues and all of the different magazines and TV shows, a lot of times no one has ever asked the normal Bahamian woman and man, what do you think about Black love? What do you think about intimacy? How do you make that connection with that special person in your life? What do you think about family? This is why it's so important, because it creates a space and a narrative where we're creating everything from friendships to finances, and we're having a space where we're talking about it. That's why it's important. What do you think, Sister Shan?
Very much so, because we don't look, or most of our information is gotten from the wider world, not Black. We don't look upon that. We are influenced by the Europeans, the Chinese, every other race except us to find what our relationships should be.
Thank you
we
for
do
that.
Need that safe space, especially today.
Yes, definitely need to look at it through the African lens, right? So tell us a little bit about how the conference is structured, what's going on where, and what we got coming up here in the Bahamas.
Okay, we started on the 20th of January in the UK. Last week was Trinidad and Tobago, and this week is the Bahamas. And our theme is the husband Holocaust. Are you ready to share your man?
Ooh, that sounds juicy.
Yes. I fought for that one because of what is going on in the Bahamas. And as you know, we have a saying, sweethearting is the national pastime of the Bahamas.
I thought it was sailing.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And things are getting a bit out of hand. We have had on social media right now a lady who found her spouse with another woman, drove into both of them. The woman died. So 3 families are now affected. She is in jail. Her trial is coming up. Children are affected. 3 families are affected. She might lose her freedom. You have on social media again a young lady, she spray painted another woman's car and she's recording. Stay away from it. She has the names on the car. You had another one. We have been wilding out in the Bahamas. We had another one where a lady fought the other girl. It broke up. She went to the lady's house to try to fight her. All of this on social media. So not only are they wilding out, hurting each other, but it's also becoming a crime.
Yes.
And the statistics are going up, and the children are being affected and hurt. So we do need this conversation.
Yes, it sounds like this conversation does need to be had. Jump in, Dr. Ford.
And I was going to say, and the great thing about it is a lot of times, whether it's social media or TV, people are giving you their perspective, but there really isn't any Black Christian perspectives or anything that talks about it from a righteous way of people coming together, talking about, hey, you can't have a godly love. You can't have a love that's based in us coming together as a family and coming together based off some scriptures, whether it is the Bible, whether it is people using the Quran. There has to be a space where people of faith can talk about what love looks like. What is the possibility of love? And so we're trying to bring a positive platform, but at the same time, you're going to have some controversy because people are going to have different opinions, some Blackness, audience participation, and everything. So we're saying Love, Lies, Liberation 2024. This is our 4th annual, and it's just getting better, and we can't wait to be in the Bahamas.
Awesome. Give us a little information about the event happening this Sunday and how we can be a part of it.
Yes. It is this Saturday, beginning
Saturday.
from 1 to 5:30, 6 o'clock. It will be at a private residence, Mount Vernon. It's $60 each drinks. We have a sip and paint afterwards. Lots of games, lots of very interesting conversations. Some of the topics: hormones in the male and female, the spiritual energy of intimacy between the partners, that physical connection, 7 women to 1 man, polygamy, that's in the Bible. Are you ready to share your man?
Oh, there you go.
Sexual positions, do they hurt or heal? Those are the type of conversations we'll be having.
I've attended a few of these sessions in the past, and it's always a great conversation and discussion. What's been some of the feedback you've gotten from participants in this year's Love, Lies, and Liberation?
The great thing about this year's Love, Lies, Liberation is people are coming up, and initially they're kind of like, oh, wow, this is a space. They're happy to be in a space where it's like, we're having a conversation. So it's everything from it's lively to it's funny to it's having a good time. Our participants, whether online or in person, they're happy to be in the space, but most importantly, they're loving the energy. They're loving the fact they're like, whoa, I never saw it from that perspective. Right. So they're happy that it's something new, it's something fresh, it's something fierce, but at the same time, it's something respectful. So you can see Black men and Black women having conversations, might not always agree, but it's the time where we can bring both our perspectives together. And so they're having a great time, and we can't wait for you all to come and join us so you can have a great time too.
That's awesome. Just to drive the point home, Dr. Ford, give us a little bit about your background as the conscious counselor. And just with these discussions we're having isn't just for fun. It's a means to an end. So tell us the impact that having these discussions and a new perspective can have on a person who is single, somebody currently in a relationship, or just trying to navigate some of the challenges of being Black and in love.
The most basic challenge in any relationship is communication, learning how to actively listen to each other, but also understanding that your upbringing, your background, your experiences with the past relationships that you have, whether you have a high body count or no body count at all, it is time for us to have conversations about how that impacts your wellness, what you think about emotional, mental health, what you think about intimacy, and for you to be able to have a conversation about what do I want? What does it look like? A lot of times we get married or we get in a relationship and we kind of want it to just be like that forever, but things grow, things change. And I've seen people, whether it's divorces or just people depressed from relationships, the one thing that they all have in common is they're not really clear on what that's supposed to look like. And so we're here, and as the conscious counselor, I'm saying let's have a conversation. And before you can get into a relationship with anyone else, your first relationship was with yourself, by being honest about what do you want, what does it look like, and do you hold that same image and standard for yourself before you can apply it to somebody else?
Almoon, very well said. Sister Sean, I know people want to know again where this event is happening on Saturday and how they can get tickets. Remind us again when it's happening and where we can get more information.
Yes, it's happening this Saturday, the 3rd of February, Mount Vernon Private Residence. You can contact at 242-809-1447 for tickets, or www.journeyhomegroup.com. Tickets are $60 per person. Or $100 per couple.
Per couple. I'm hoping that it's $100 that's going to be coming in. Bring your significant other, bring a friend, bring your parent. It's all about getting a new perspective, having these important discussions, communicating, and seeing what might come out of it, because we're trying to solve the issues of our community and move us further as a people on one accord. So we appreciate all that's being done by the Holy Coptic Church and the Black Messiah through Love, Lies, Liberation. Another year. Looking forward to this weekend. Can't wait to see all the juicy stories that come out. But thank you again, Sister Sean and Dr. Ford, for being on Bahamas at Sunrise this morning.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Love, Lies, and Liberation, everybody. Don't miss it this weekend. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Godfrey. The Business License Act. Godfrey. The Business License Act 2023 is an act to require businesses to hold a business license, to repeal the Business License Act 2010 for connected matters. Here to tell us more are Bertino Albury. He is the president of the Bahamas Institute of Chartered Accountants. We also have Carlton Cartwright. He is assurance and digital assurance partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers Bahamas and a BICA member. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Good morning. Now, let me say that again. The Business License Act 2023 is an act to require businesses to hold a business license and to repeal the Business License Act 2010. So let's talk about this. Tell us what the Business License Act 2023 is all about.
I'll pass it on to Carlton.
Yeah, so basically the Business License Act for 2023, the main change is it changes who is scoped into the act. So previously where international business companies and other entities that perhaps had revenues outside of the Bahamas were scoped out. They are now included in the Business License Act and subject to paying business license tax. And as part of that, what typically has to happen is that the revenue that you are potentially paying the business license tax on needs to be certified by an accountant licensed with BICA. And there are different thresholds that require different considerations. So if you are above 250,000 in revenue but below 5 million, you have to do your revenue has to be reviewed by a BICA licensed accountant. And so in theory then you would have to provide what they call a business license return that discloses your revenue and various other adjustments or disclosures related to revenue, as well as the review report from the BICA license accounting that ultimately confirms that that revenue is accurate. If you are above 5 million, you, in addition to providing the return, that return now needs to be audited, which is a higher standard of work that is required. And in addition to that return and the audit of that return, you also need to provide audited financial statements. And those audited financial statements can be on a fiscal year end, whereas your business license return is on a calendar year end. So those are the key changes that arise out of the Business License Act 2023.
What have been some of the challenges in, I guess, getting this act passed?
Well, the act has already been passed. It was actually passed down to us, and the government had, and the reason why this came about is the government had concerns about the quality of the business license that they were receiving. So they called on us as BICA professionals, professional accountants, to assist in this process, to help them get some type of assurance and comfort around the numbers that they're getting. And so some of the challenges have been, we needed time to hash this out, try to figure it out. So what we did, we created, and that's why I pass it on to Carlton. He's my technical guy. So we had this technical committee. We created this, what we call a working committee to work along with the DIR, Department of Inland Revenue, so that we could figure out how to go about doing this. Now that you have all these assurance services that need to be done. So some of the challenges have been trying to reconcile our standards with the tax code that is being shoved down. Yeah.
I am not an accountant,
right?
So it sounds all like French to me, but you guys definitely know what you're talking about.
Right.
So let's see. I'm going to pretend like I don't know anything. What is a tax return, and how should people be prepared based on the act?
Yeah. So basically, the return is essentially a document that you will be preparing in Excel. It has various different tabs, and essentially what that return is seeking to do, it's seeking for the business to report their revenue.
Right.
And then also then reconcile that revenue that they're reporting to basically their books and records, because an entity might be, for example, keeping their books and records under International Financial Reporting Standards or US GAAP or some other accounting framework, and the way that you recognize revenue under that accounting framework might be different than the way you recognize on revenue under business license. To give a simple example, deferred revenue, where deferred revenue for most accounting frameworks is not considered revenue in the profit and loss statement, but a liability because you've received the cash up front, but you haven't delivered the service yet. So until you deliver the service, you would recognize it as a liability and then earn it over time into revenue as you perform the service. However, under the Business License Act, the minute that revenue has been received, it is considered revenue for purposes of the taxing authority, because from their perspective, they want the tax as soon as possible, right? So
if I buy something and I put it on the shelf, I don't sell that until 5 years down the road, I still pay taxes on that.
Well, not if you're buying, because that would be inventory. But in theory, if you've sold something, let's say you've sold a service, and you're going to perform that service over the next year, in theory, under your existing accounting framework, you would recognize that revenue over the year.
Right.
Whereas if you were paid up front for that service, the Business License Act would say that you recognize a revenue now, and you pay business license tax on that revenue now. So that is one of an example of an adjustment that might happen that you have to, which this return is ultimately trying to seek to reconcile.
All right, I'm understanding. I feel like I'm an accountant, right? I feel like I could join your association. How do people find out more about the act, and who does this impact on a day-to-day basis?
The Inland Revenue does have a website. They published what they call the guidance notes and all the returns that you would have to complete recently. We're still in negotiations with them. Like I said, we had this working committee working along with them. So we still sort of fine-tuning some of the reports. But you can go there and start to look at what it is required that you need to do on their website. You could also reach out to your nearest and great members of BICA to assist you along the way as well.
Yeah, what is the role of BICA in all of this, and how does BICA support?
Well, the role of BICA is to ensure that the members and the licensees that are preparing these returns are helping, I guess, with the assurance of these returns to make sure that we are actually performing within our standards.
Right.
And also, of course, being able to fulfill what is required under the law.
Right.
And so sometimes that collides, right? Because, we have to do things under IFRS because that's the standard in which we're governed. But the law may not necessarily, just like as Carlton talked about, deferred revenue. You have an item, you pay cash, you're a business owner. I haven't given that item to the person yet. So, then that person probably still needs to pay on that item. But according to the government, to DR, that's money, that's revenue, but that is not necessarily revenue to you. And so those type of challenges we face, but we got to make sure we stand within the lines and at the same time be able to fulfill our duties under the legislation.
Have there also been some changes to the business license renewal requirements? Give us a little information on that.
Business license renewal requirements, all what Carlton talked about. You got to make sure that you engage a licensed BICA professional to be able to either, depends on the bucket that you're in. If you're in the 250,000 to 4.9 million bucket, then you'd have to make sure that you've engaged a professional to help with the review of that return that you're going to prepare. Now, if you get into that 5 million above, what they consider large entities, large taxpayers, then you'd have to engage a BICA licensed professional to perform an audit and also prepare that return in which they will also audit as well.
I would also say that the Department of Inland Revenue, in recognizing that this is a big change in terms of renewal, have altered some of the deadlines. So typically what is required is that by January 31st, so in a few days, the entity would submit their revenue number before, in theory, that has been reviewed or audited by a BICA licensee. And then by March 31st, that number that was submitted needs to be reviewed or audited by a BICA member and then submitted along with the return. This year, in recognition of the fact that these changes have been made, there's an automatic extension now to April 30th in terms of when you need to have that reviewed or audited. And then there's also a provision in the guidelines that would say if you need more time than April 30th, because there are going to be some entities that are new to this regime and are new to getting audits, and so that might take a lot of time, you could then request an extension until June 30th, 2024.
I don't even have a business, and I think I requested an extension just to wrap my head around it all. But you guys have been very informative, and we can find more information, as you said, on the Department of Inland Revenue's website, more about the Business License Act 2023 and how that impacts businesses here in the Bahamas. We appreciate you both for being here. Bertino Albury is the president of BICA, or BICA. I don't want to keep saying BICA. BICA, and we have Carlton Cartwright with us, a BICA member and a digital assurance partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Y'all gonna beat me. Yeah. Thanks for being here this morning on Bahamas at Sunrise. All right. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back. That's going to do it for us today on Bahamas at Sunrise. We're so happy that you got up there early to join us on another marvelous Monday, kicking off a brand new week and closing off the end of the month of January. Yes, we've made it to the final week of January, folks. So just push on through. We're almost there. February is right around the corner. Congratulations on all the successes over the weekend, over this first month of the year, and let's push through the remaining months of the year. You know, we just want to think about everybody who is going through something this morning. There are those who would have lost relatives, lost loved ones. They're facing challenging situations in their life. So just remember, be graceful to one another. Reach out and give someone a call. A hug can make a difference, a kind word and a compliment. So be your brother's keeper and your sister's keeper until we see each other again on Friday. Take care. Thanks for being with us.